The reality of being a paramedic or a dispatcher, from what we've been learning, is that they have an incredibly difficult job to perform day in and day out. The stark reality is that the demands and the pressures are not only increasing, but they're doubling, if not tripling. Our appreciation really means the world to them and will help support these services going forward so that they're there for us when we need them to be. Hi, I'm Molly Gabrielslake, and I have the great honor of being the Resilience Program Coordinator at Stillpoint Engage. Infused in all that we do is really building communities and building connection in a really deep, rich, and meaningful way. We do this by partnering with communities both locally and globally, and really try to support and bring voice to those who serve us. Since our inception, we've been serving those who are working on the front lines as humanitarian aid workers, post-conflict and post-disaster in some of the world's most challenging zones. We've been in Kosovo working with post-conflict communities there, and we've been partnering with Doctors Without Borders in Southern Africa to make sure that the men and women who are serving on the front lines of some of the world's most devastating crises have the support that they need to be able to continue to do their work. Now we're bringing our focus home to the Twin Cities and supporting the men and women who are serving on the front lines within our community. With the onset of COVID-19 and the unfolding civil unrest in Minneapolis, we've heard the call from the community and been able to take the Resilience Engage program, which we initially developed for the humanitarian aid workers in the field, and transform it into something that would be relevant and applicable and helpful to first responders who are serving locally. This fall, we had the opportunity to be in person and train all EMS personnel at Hennepin EMS. And then building on that, we've been able to offer a range of in-person and online supports that are different access points for people depending on what they're looking for. We know that 50% of first responders report struggling with mental health issues. It can look like depression, anxiety, and PTSD. And we know from our insights that first responders, at least 50% of them, experience 5 or more deeply traumatic events. We also know, sadly, that when we look at suicidality, 37% of first responders report having suicidal ideation. And what we've been hearing is that these are likely low numbers, as first responders have many reasons to be reluctant to report such things. We feel very deeply that part of our mission is to help stop this cycle. And we see resilience as being a key component to doing that. So with our Resilience Engage program, we're teaching about the ability to adapt well in the face of adversity. We think of it as being able to bend without breaking in the face of challenging events. I think one of the most striking things for me is how little I actually knew about first responders and the work that they did prior to being able to actually sit down and listen and interact with them. It's absolutely amazing the ability to be with human suffering that they display on a day in and day out basis. You hear them talk about how difficult it is to have a call with a child who is in medical distress, and yet they show up day in and day out and help serve and provide that vital service for those children and the family members. You know, it's showing up at the car accident and keeping calm and keeping everybody in a state where they're able to work through the medical emergency in the best way that they can. You know, yeah, I kind of knew all of these things based on what I had seen in television or heard from family members who are first responders. But until you really sit down with them and understand what it is that they're experiencing, you really don't know how challenging their job is and how heroic it really is. And I don't use that word lightly.
Hi, my name is Alta, and I've been a paramedic for Hennepin for 3 years. One of the reasons that I love this job is because I truly love helping people. I love getting to be there on their worst day and hopefully help them through one of the hardest times in their life.
Hi, I'm Abby Solberg. I am the AHA coordinator here at Hennepin EMS. I've been a paramedic for the past 5 years. The highlight of my job is to make a positive impact in somebody's life, no matter the level or criticality of the call.
Hi, I'm Nick. I've been an EMS physician with Hennepin since 2017. For me, the highlight of the job is getting invited into people's homes and people's lives at a time of crisis. I really find it's a tremendous honor and privilege to get such an unfiltered window into that humanity.
My name is Jason. I've been a Hennepin paramedic for 5 years. One of the best parts of my job is making a human connection with people, whether it be holding a hand or just comforting somebody. The toughest part of this job is anything that involves kids. I think across the board, any medic would tell you, when it's a sick kid, it's a hard call.
The kids are the toughest ones, but even still seeing the adults and their suffering is hard too.
I think the biggest challenges with this job specifically are cumulative stress of difficult calls, of witnessing tragedy on top of just typical daily life. The worst of those, I think, is when we have a difficult call or difficult situation where we're afterwards left wondering if there was something we could have done different or better to change the outcome or prevent the tragedy that we experienced on that call.
This has been a really difficult year, and some of the low points include working through a global pandemic and dealing with some of the civil unrest that we've all experienced, as well as the anxieties that accompany that, and a lot of that is new to us.
So one thing I'd like people to know, I guess, is that we may come off like we have a hard exterior, but realistically, we have a very soft interior, and we are human as well and are susceptible to all sorts of emotions and feelings.
One of the ways I think that the community can assist with our resilience is to acknowledge EMS. I think often people don't think of EMS until they're calling 911. And even though we show up in uniform, remember that we're people too, often operating with little or no information and doing the best we can to provide care for you and your loved ones and keep you safe and healthy.
One of the best ways to maybe support us would be to realize that we're human beings behind these uniforms, and that these experiences we share with you will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
One way that you can help us with resiliency is remembering that every person that shows up in a uniform is there to help you. And if we can really spread that message, it not only will help us become more resilient, but it will in turn help the community become more resilient.
The process of working with first responders this past year has been really eye-opening for us. We've gained deep insights into the lived realities and the challenges and the needs of first responders. I can't imagine a community without our first responders, and so often that's what would be so helpful for them to hear, for us to say thank you, for us to acknowledge as a community what it is that they are doing and the services that they are providing for us. They're there for our loved ones, they're there for our family, and they're there for our friends in a way that is more than a job. It's a mission and it's a calling. And the ability to say thank you, the ability to show our appreciation really means the world to them and will help support these services going forward so that they're there for us when we need them to be. Your donation to Stillpoint Engage provides support and resiliency training to first responders in your community. Donate today at stillpointengage.org.